I can't, you know, Billy's trying to escape here and I won't let him escape because I think he should have a job as a Wall Street banker and trader. Why do I say that? Why do I say that? One, he says he made a bet with someone he doesn't recall who it is. That is the classic trader, right? And the second thing is he also says, you know, his belief in carbon trading and carbon credits. That is the wave of the future. You know, you don't want to get into subprime mortgages if you want to go into banking these days. It's all about carbon credits and carbon trading. It's something that's really viewed upon to be something that will be valuable. Now, Billy has to leave, but I just wanted him, before he left, to know that he would make the idea. In fact, he is the ideal Wall Street trader. I made a bet with someone who I don't know, and I'm not sure what the outcome will be, but either way, I win. Is that it, Billy?
That's fair, yeah.
So, my name is John Buley. Enough on that. Billy, please go home to your wife and family now. My name's John Buley. My name's John Buley. I'm a professor in the business school. I joined Fuqua 4 years ago to teach a variety of different business courses, but I'm also involved and really enjoy the work I do in the energy initiative. But I teach some energy finance courses. I teach a project finance course, but I'm also very interested in the effects of what's going on with the poor as well. And so my volunteer time is often spent in some capital market solutions for the poor, mainly in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. And I've just latched on what are the biggest issues affecting the poor. And when I mean the poor, I mean people making like under $2 a day. What is it? It's energy, it's education, and it's water. And in order to get water and education, you need energy. So it's something we spend a lot of time on. At the same time, I wanted to take in this, now down to 19 minutes and 32 seconds because I wasted it on joking about Billy. It's important, you know, I did not have the ability to have the exposure to what you guys have through all the interdisciplinary work that you get at Duke. I was a history major. And then I was in international relations, got a graduate degree in international relations because I didn't know what to do after I got a history degree. So what did you do when you were my age? You went to law school, right? So I became a lawyer. I always wanted to be a professor, but I had to wait until my kids graduated from college until I could do that. And so I look at a lot of things through the lens of history, but also notice as we talk about a lot of the challenges that are facing the energy markets generally, that a lot of people, that they need that context in a non-political, meaning biased way, and I consider myself as unbiased as they come, into terms of what's going on in the markets. Now, you'll notice I have the word up there. The topic briefly is the new normal. And I sort of say that ironically. How many people have heard the term new normal as it applies to energy in the past 6 months, right? The new normal, the new normal. Let me tell you something. And unfortunately, there's one student here who's already heard this story. He has to listen to me at least twice a week in another class. He should be excused from today. The day I got my driver's license was the day they imposed gasoline rationing in the United States. That in order to put, you want to reduce emissions, you can't buy gas unless your car is even or odd numbered. So you had to like push your car, you'd run out of gas while you were waiting for the gas station to open. So I remember seeing this. I was in high school and I was about ready to do what? One, you could steal other people's gas or steal other people's license plates or wait in line. I chose to wait in line and read a newspaper which said, this is the new normal. In 1981, we had another gas crisis. What did we say? The new normal. I have an article from Foreign Affairs magazine in 2001, right before 9/11, that said the cover article was on $10 price of oil, the new normal. Everything's always the new normal. When oil went to $150, the new normal. Now that there's a fear that oil may go to $20. $20 a gallon and stay there for a long time. That might be the new normal. The point is we don't know what the new normal is, but let's just look at it in context for what it has been. Now, so everything, there's two things in life you can always talk about. Everyone wants something uncorrelated with Greek bonds right now, and everyone wants to know why is there such volatility in oil and gas prices, and then most importantly for many of you going into alternatives, I know what you're thinking. I see the bubble over your head now. You're saying, why does this matter? And by the way, when Craig was saying, you know, you have some professors who just sit up there and lecture and do slides and sort of just talk at you and take a few questions. Like, he's thinking of me, that's me. But you can interrupt and please feel free to, and question anything I say. But right now, a lot of things that are going on have to do with China. Those of you who have followed the markets, who are worried about where the markets are going, not sure our lights are on because we have to tape this, but the energy is down about 18% in the S&P this year. Energy and transportation, which is correlated to energy, is performing miserably. All the declines in your parents' 401k, in your own trust funds, we don't know how the Duke Endowment's doing yet, do we, Stacy? But all these declines are based on this sector, and we've had tremendous volatility in that sector. And why is... So I'm thinking, okay, what do people want to know about? Now, like Billy said, he said, well, I don't know what you want to talk about, so I'll just guess at some things. I could have asked, what do you want to talk about? But instead, being in the business school, I look up a paper to find out what you want to talk about. So this is the World Energy Issues Monitor. Now, I don't know how well this shows, but what do people care about around the globe? Energy prices. Energy prices, energy efficiency here. Brazil, no one seems to be worried about Brazil, and there's all these other things. Now, this was taken a few months ago. Why were people wrong in saying nobody cares about Brazil? Why were people wrong? Tell me one reason why people were wrong in saying Brazil doesn't matter. What happened to Petrobras?
Corruption crisis.
Well, there's a corruption crisis. What's caused that corruption crisis? Politics. And what's caused these problems? Significant declines in the economy. When economies are great, nobody's corrupt. It's only when there's a problem where they find corruption. Why is that? Why is that? Because of China. Because of China. But this is what people think about is most important. They're not thinking of cap and trade. They're not thinking of vaults. They're not thinking about solar panels. They're not thinking of BAS connections, although they should be. Although they should be. So what are people thinking in Asia? If China is so important, what are people thinking about? Look at this. They're right up there. What's interesting is they're thinking about energy pricing. They're thinking about China. They're thinking less about Brazil as well. Well, Brazil just got downgraded. It's junk bonds now. But also they're thinking smart grids. Yeah, we want to be carbon neutral, but it's only over here. What are young professionals thinking about? Because this is what I did all this research. Rather than call Stacy and just ask the question for 2 minutes, I thought I'd read a 200-page paper to find out what people are thinking about. What are you thinking about? Well, you're thinking about prices, of course. But renewables and efficiency and climate change and the climate framework is all right there as something very, very important. And you're saying, oh, so the rest of Buley's presentation is going to be on these issues. No, it is not. It's going to be on the energy prices. What do people who wear blue and white pinstripe suits think about from day to day? Why do you care about that? Because that market will affect how you're able to provide other solutions for people I care about, the poor, the middle class, and the wealthy. Everyone falls into that. Is there anybody I'm missing? Anybody I'm missing? So first, what's happening in China? There is a huge readjustment going on in China and in economic growth or lack thereof. But look at the growth that we're seeing. This is from a slide. A friend of mine came down to Fuqua a couple days ago, and I asked if I could take some of his slides. Growth in China is about 6%, and everyone is freaking out. They are freaking out. They're saying, my God, the sky is falling. What is the growth in the United States right now? And we're happy about it. What's that, man? Like 2%. And we are clicking our collective heels, right? We're saying this is terrific, but because China was growing 14%, now they're so worried that they'll grow 6 to 8%. This is a massive economy. How much bigger, how many more people are in China than there are in the United States? 4 times, it's big, but that means this is what everyone's worried about. But if you are betting on 14% growth year over year at infinitum, you don't have to be Billy the Wall Street trader to figure out that means a doubling of growth every approximately how many years? 6 or so. Yeah, 6 or 7. So what we've seen is oil prices have been tanking. They've been absolutely tanking. What does that mean to alternative energy? What does that mean towards wind, towards solar? What does that mean towards subsidies that will, or tax credits that make other fuels useful? But we have seen this correlation between the Chinese economy and oil prices globally that have an issue. Oh, excuse me. I wanted to show this is not. Where do I point this at? Oh, I pointed at the computer. That's what a smart person would do. There we go. Just to show you, I mean, prices are correlated across the board. That energy prices on everything have been declining quickly. So what does this do to the new? What does this mean for the new paradigm for the markets? Speaking of energy, where are these batteries coming from? What am I not pointing at? There we go. There we go. Now this is global energy demand. This is important for you to see because again, young professionals are saying everything that's important is on the alternative side. I don't happen to disagree with you. But what is the demand right now? What is the demand right now? Oil, gas, coal, by far are nuclear, by far the dominant ways that the world gets its energy. This is important. This slide comes from Jeffries. This comes from Jeffries. There's their expectation of what will the world look like in 2040. They don't know any more than I know. I mean, I don't know what the world's going to look like tomorrow. If I did, I'd be like Billy and be the trader and just make a bet on it tomorrow. But the reality is, at least Jeffries is not predicting a radical change. What is he projecting now? An enormous increase in BTUs used, but at the same time, we don't know what the population growth will be. We don't know what the growth rate in China will be. We do know, yes.
When was that study published?
And I'm going to show you that in a minute. It was 2012. It's very important that you remember this. That slide that you just looked at was in 2012, published by Jeffries. We're going to come to that in two pages, and I'll tell you why it's important. Yes, sir.
It was by ExxonMobil, though, right?
Pardon me?
It was ExxonMobil's energy outlook.
Oh, yeah, but it's if you look closely, it's sourced there. But I want to give a plug to Jeffries, so if you don't mind. But you're right. It is Exxon. I mean, this is a big energy company saying that. What's happened? What's happened? Look at how much the United States has expanded its production of shale gas. Why is this important? Why is this important? For the first time, again, remember in 1973? You're all remembering? I was pushing the car up to get the gas tank filled. None of you were born then, but it were tougher times then. You know, the United States made a decision that it would become energy independent. President Nixon at the time said, we will be energy dependent in 10 years, or by the end of the decade. Every president since President Nixon said we would become energy independent, and it has never happened, and no one ever thought it would happen. Look what's happened about how changes in production, barrels per day. Look at how much gas and oil the United States is producing. It's expanded remarkably. So this is because of some who saw this coming. No one predicted this. The desire to move towards fewer hydrocarbons was based on lack of supply of hydrocarbons, increased demand for our SUVs and other vehicles, or those of us who are not driving solar cars. Is there such a thing as a solar car? If not, I guess I don't have one. But lack of supply, increasing demand, and then what happens? What are the game changers? What happened? And who predicted this? Who could have seen this coming? That would be very disruptive, frankly, to the whole solar and alternative marketplace. And yet, this is Ralph Eads, who's a graduate of the school, of Duke University, and managing director, chairman, vice chairman of Jeffries. He's also a very generous benefactor of the school. He and a couple of people, he's an investment banker though. He worked with a couple of his clients, one of whom was his former roommate from Duke, before Bass Connections, but from Duke. And they themselves said, They are going to bring about this revolution in energy exploration and production in the United States. And that by doing this revolution, it will make, finally, the United States energy independent, will reduce the necessity for the government to subsidize alternative energy. You may agree or disagree with that, but that was one of the stated assumptions. And finally, it would bring back jobs. It would bring jobs. You have to remember, this again is the presentation by Jeffries, that energy development will create 25% of all new jobs. What's the unemployment rate right now? Anybody know? 5.1%. You're a freaking genius, but you were also in my class last week. 5.1%. What was it when the Great Recession started? And how many jobs were we losing a month? I'll make it easier for you. In 1 month, we lost 700,000 jobs in the United States. 1 month. The unemployment rate was going up by 1% a month. A month. It was looking really ugly out there. And I don't care whether one of the things that you can either agree or disagree with a lot of policies in the last 6 or 7 years, but the creation of the shale gas revolution created well over, I think Ralph refers to I think he said 1.6 million jobs indirectly through shale gas. The President of the United States in the State of the Union address said that what was created by many people who were sitting this room probably wasn't built then, but they were sitting at Duke 30 years ago enjoying a beer, created more than 600,000 jobs in the United States. So what are we going to do? We've got this tremendous price instability, which has an impact on the growth in the markets, in that from a market standpoint, I am a markets person. It's like, what is going on in the market? And because interest rates have been so low, there's been an inexhaustible supply of high-yield bonds to finance new projects in the hydrocarbon business. This is a graph showing the growth, the growth in the high-yield energy index. At the same time, now that oil prices are coming down, why are they coming down again? They're coming down for 2 reasons. China is slowing, and the U.S. is becoming more efficient, and also we're not seeing as much growth in America as we want to see. This has implications for people looking at other activities. At the same time, for those of you who do want to be bond traders, it's not the end of the world. I mean, we worry about these default rates, and are we going to have all these problems? Historically, default rates have been pretty low. This I just thought, I think I should be entitled to have one interesting but totally irrelevant slide in every presentation I give. This is something somebody showed me last week. The history of sectors that get really big is generally not good. So healthcare and energy have been the largest sector of issuance since the financial crisis. But let's look at what was big before that. Gaming and leisure, so everybody running a casino. Look at before that, telecom. Everyone wanted to put broadband all over the world. These are things that blew up. So we've had this enormous change, that an inexhaustible supply of money has been made available for new hydraulic fracturing technologies, which has an impact, whether we like it or not, on how we introduce policies affecting climate change. Billy was talking about, and I want to add on to his work on policies and policies. Now, if I could predict who would be president, I'd be either smart or scared. But something tells me President Trump might not be as in favor of some of the tax credits and tax subsidies for alternative and solar, unless those activities tend to generate what? Net present value positive transactions. But talking about the oil market, see, it's going to be difficult, more difficult, to apply some of the principles. I mean, it's great that we've got people at Duke and other places that are adopting solar as their standard, and there's so many interesting things. There's going on in the wind and in all alternative power. But there's a lot of interesting things that go on that can disrupt that. just a few weeks ago. Everyone's trying to figure this out. Last year, there was 9% less wind in the United States than there was the year before. Is there a scientist here who can tell me why? Anybody know why? I don't know. Nobody knows. Do you know? Anybody know? But 9% why? What's your guess?
The suspicion I heard was a part of the new El Nino phenomenon.
Oh, so it's a conspiracy theory once again that President Trump will deal with if it's got something to do with El Nino. The wall will deal with that. But where does the new technology fit in? And this is one thing that I like to leave people with. It's like energy in the United States has become so politicized between those in favor of clean sources of energy, those in favor of efficiency, and those in favor of just leaving things as they are, coal, gas, and oil. It's become so politicized. To me, I'm an agnostic about that. One thing I will bet, though, never bet against technology. Any of you pursuing careers in energy are going to have to get smart about technology. It's not the energy, it's not the oil and gas engineers that will solve all these problems. It's not necessarily the scientists, people interested in technology. Because the market doesn't price in a new technology until it's already established. It's entrepreneurs. You know, the people who created the fracking phenomenon, whether you like it or not, we're all just entrepreneurs. And they had to deal with the same market forces that you have to in solar, wind, and in hydro. Because you can't just go out there and say a policy in and of itself will generate great behavior. All I say is the question is, who out there, if you put yourself in this room 40 years ago and you were with Aubrey McClendon and I don't know whether Mitchell went to school here, who created fracking, but Ralph Eads and others, they were thinking about what they were going to do that would create efficiency, reduce the price, and also add a challenge that they might not have been thinking about 40 years ago, of dealing with climate change. Cap and trading, carbon trading, very interesting and important topic. I happen to be on the other side of what Billy says. I happen to be well, I was even before the Pope said it was, but there are those who believe that the markets are not the most efficient way to regulate carbon, that the market shouldn't be involved, that we should not have these carbon trading policies. Now, the beauty of what we have, though, at Duke University through the Energy Initiative, we all have a dialogue about that we can have a good dialogue. We can be in meetings where Billy will talk about cap and trade, and he plays the part of the investment banker, and I play the part of the theologian, which I play very poorly, which is why I wouldn't get an Emmy for it. But we have to think about those things. We have to think about how to finance those ventures and how to think about those ideas through this valley of death before something is commercially workable. Many of the projects of the best connections go directly to this. How do we get through something where we have an innovation, but we are not yet in a point where we can sell it to the market and make a lot of money? The future, I've already spoken too much, but the future will be by the people who create these new technologies, whether you're going to Houston to be an oil engineer or whether you're sitting here to do something in solar. And at the same time, keeping in mind, even if you had the perfect solution in solar right now, what are we going to do from an economic standpoint with all the utilities that have invested significant amounts of money into their existing cost? Put it this way. If you look at, let's assume, here's my trailer park. I live at house number 20. If everyone from house number 1 to house number 19 has a solar panel on their roof, and I, being the Luddite that I am, I'm connected to Duke Power, who's going to pay to keep house number 20 in power? These are policy issues that are just starting to come up. And you're at a perfect time. You know, look, when I was in your age, when I was in school, things were boring. All we had to talk about was how to push a car up a hill because we were out of gas. But you're at this point, and whether or not Nixon should be impeached, frankly. But you're at this point where you can discuss all these and through this interdisciplinary approach really engage in a dialogue that is fruitful not only for career, but also for the lives of others. So with that, thank you very much. I'll take any questions you have, either online, offline, or you know my email address. People know where to find me.